O-O-T-C. Hey, that's cool.
You got a podcast?
Well, I didn't know that.
That's cool.
Now you do.
Welcome. We are back. Oh, that's cool. OTC's very own podcast on all the amazing people we work with right here at OTC, Ozarks Technical Community College. I am Jared Durden, and with me, as always...
Oh, it's Andrew Crocker staring down the barrel of a 16-week, rigorous, really...
Onslaught,
you're right, of responsibilities and every day being weird and different and energetic and frustrating. How do you, when you stare 16 weeks in the face, Jared, do you blink?
I summon the power of the eagle. This is the most anxious time for me, right? Because I've done everything I can to prepare. I worked on those Canvas courses, or at least, what they're going to see when before they see me in Canvas. And I've done everything I can, and now is the most anxious time because everything is out of my control now, right? So I'm not going to see them until Monday or Tuesday, but they have access to all these things that I've been working on, and I have no idea how it's going to go till then, right? Or until I hear from them by email. So I think this is the most anxiety. And then that first week of class, I kind of get bored, right? Because you're not getting homework yet. You're just kind of introducing yourself and getting to know everybody, and that's when I usually get myself in trouble, because then I'm like, oh, I've got all this free time, and I start scheduling things, and then everything ends up piling up on me.
Yeah, it was Dr. Vivian Elder back when I was first hired full-time, and I remember her specifically saying, she was like, that first week or two you're working, you're going to wish you could have banked that time for the middle of the semester. Because for me, it's always the middle third. The middle third always gets me. The tail end, things kind of come down a bit. In the first, 2 or 3 weeks, it's not terrible, but yeah, eventually it does add up to itself. And it gets exponentially busier the more you take on new responsibilities and such.
It really does.
Mm-hmm. And so for me, I always do kind of get flinchy right before the semester starts, because I'm looking at a 4-month effort that I'm going to have to commit to. It's like I'm building a house for 4 months. But when syllabus day comes and goes, I'm like, oh, I just got to get to Wednesday and I'm fine. Oh, now I got to get to Friday and I'm fine. It becomes much more incremental. But for some reason, I struggle to have that visceral processing of that.
You see the whole thing.
I do, yeah.
At the beginning, and then you start to see it in chunks.
Plus, do you ever worry? I'm going a little vulnerable here for those of you who are listening. You ever worried, because Cara, we have Cara today, and Cara and I have talked about this. Do you ever worry that your students won't like you?
Oh, yeah.
And so maybe that's what my anxiety is feeding from. We could have Cara weigh in on that here in a minute. But I always worry a little bit, like, what if they don't like me?
Yeah.
And the truth of the matter is, if they don't like you, it's usually 3 months in. On syllabus day, everybody's fine. Maybe a little bored, but everybody's fine. But I do worry about that a little bit. I want them to like me.
So as you mentioned, we did bring in a very special guest, as always, with us today, and not a new face to the college, but new to faculty. The one and only Cara Griffin is with us today. How are you today?
Hey, guys, thank you for having me.
Let me ask you something right off the bat.
Yeah.
When you face the semester coming down the pipeline, do you worry that they won't like you? What is your, how are you feeling?
And I was like, this is coming from like the most likable guy on campus. This is impossible. What's wrong with you? I did worry about that my first semester, especially my very first semester, 8 a.m. And I'm like walking in there like, ooh, here we go. But actually now it's going to be my third semester and I feel pretty good.
Yeah, we should mention that.
I know people like me.
We should mention that you recently transitioned into the other PLS instructor. This is the entirety of the PLS department.
The entire department is right here in this room.
And that you just started full time this past fall.
Yes, I did.
Ma'am?
Yeah.
How was your first year?
I did a lot of personal growth and it was absolutely phenomenal. I love it. I'm so happy. And my first summer, I actually came to campus every week because I couldn't stay away. Because
prior to that, you worked in administrative, you worked in HR, you were on campus 11 and a half, 12 months a year.
Yeah, absolutely.
And now you're off campus 3 months a year, or 2.5 months a year.
I am, and I don't want to pour too much salt in all my staff friends' wounds
Yeah.
about that, so we can just skip over that part if you want.
I will mention this,
Yeah.
and everybody I talk to disagrees with me.
What?
Matter of fact, I want to hear if you disagree. I think the one I could stand to be in the office a little bit more for a couple different reasons. First of all, I really, really like doing what I'm doing. You know that. And second of all, I like being, I like the camaraderie of working with everybody. I was just on faculty development day. You and I were sitting in a room when you and I were both like, I think we know like 50 people in this room. That's cool to know like 50 really sharp people.
Technically, you said that. I think I was like, I only know like 12 people in here.
And being around the students all the time, especially since you and I run Politically Active together,
Yes.
student club, being around our student, like our cabinet alone,
Yeah.
they're wonderful people.
Absolutely.
And so,
So lucky.
I do kind of wish, I'm not speaking on behalf of faculty, just for myself, but I do kind of wish I could, be around a little bit more.
Well, to be honest, right, and I know people tend to focus on, how much time we might get off during the year, but we're
not
working.
paid for those
Yeah.
months either.
But we're
I mean,
also
it's
we're
part of our-
working, right? So and
Yeah.
I find myself in the office even when I'm not teaching, because there's grading, there's planning, there's prepping, there's I'm constantly kind of rebuilding and rethinking courses, new technologies coming in that we have to learn. Like I think I don't disagree with you. I think that I on my own kind of like do come in more than I probably have to, I guess, because I do like
Absolutely.
spending time in the office and with those people.
I do too.
Carol,
I'm not very good at working from home.
I'm not either, but that's not my fault. I have two little ankle biters that grab my attention all the time.
You mean humans, and I'm talking about
Humans,
dogs. I
yeah.
have 2 dogs.
And the other big thing, though, is remember is when we leave here, we don't stop working either, right?
No.
We're still getting emails in the evening. We're still putting out fires.
yeah.
We're grading papers.
yeah.
We're kind of on call.
I do remember, because in a way, this job, I would not put it on the same stress level as 911, where I worked for a couple of years prior to working here. Well, 911 is kind of its own unique stress level some days. Most of the time at 911, you're working at Dunder Mifflin. You're just bored most of the time. But when you go home, you're just done. You're done with work. And I'd been an adjunct at that point for like 7-8 years. And I'm like, oh, wow, I'm just done. I don't have anything to do. And it doesn't give you the same stress level, but it kind of never alleviates either. It doesn't ever go away.
We do so much emotional labor, right? And that can really kind of carry through. And these are people and people's lives that we're just fully immersed in and constantly learning about and working with. And it doesn't turn off, right?
No. And it's so exciting to be back, like seeing everybody,
Yes.
and so excited for next week. And when people hear this, I guess this week, of first week of classes,
Yeah.
and I know staff miss us too. So
Yeah.
I'm really excited.
Cara, can you, how was your path? Give us your OTC
Yeah.
origin story.
Oh man! All right, so coming into OTC July of 2014. Little Cara Griffin worked in administrative services. And you know what? That was one of my favorite experiences here at OTC. Rob Rector, phenomenal. I really had a family atmosphere, did a lot, learned a lot in that department. Went over to HR under Oki Haas. Got my SHRM CP, expanded some knowledge there. And of course, with Page Up, a lot of people around the college probably got to know me because they post jobs, right?
Did you say SHRM CP?
Yeah.
Would you?
Oh, yeah. It's like a human resources certification.
Okay.
So.
You said that
It
as
was
if,
like a
well,
huge
you guys
exam,
know.
but you're right. You probably didn't know. I was like sweating bullets for like 2 weeks, but I passed very well, very highly. So
Congratulations.
awesome. And then, gosh, this position came open for full-time instructor, and I've been adjuncting as Zach Zweigel actually hired me in 2016.
Yes, Dr. Zach Zweigel, for sure.
Yeah. So adjuncted, and
I don't think I knew that. He brought you on as an adjunct in 2016?
Uh-huh.
Because that's when he brought me on full time. We had
Yeah.
kind of the same
Yeah.
entrance to the department at the same
We
time.
did.
How did you end up in PLS?
Mm-hmm.
Why jump ship from HR? We've had Oki on
Yeah.
this podcast.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
She's
Wonderful
awesome.
to talk
She's
to.
so
Yeah.
sweet. Yeah. So my experience prior to OTC was actually working for a municipality. So I worked in local government for almost 8 years before I got here to OTC, and this will be starting my 9th year here. So I have that background, my master's degree, public administration. So it was just kind of a natural fit.
And Jared and I had a conversation, forget whose episode, but it was inspired by the episode we had with Caitlin Schumacher. And we talked about how local government, people don't generally care about it. We have local elections every April, 10% turnout. People are glued to national politics, where their vote is important, but it is a drop in the bucket numerically. But their local vote is huge, proportionately. Why do you think, I have my own working theories that I've already aired. Why do you think it is that local government doesn't get the airtime it deserves? As somebody who has, I mean, you were the gears of local government for a while.
Oh, yeah. And really, I think there are, media coverages and media exposures to that. It depends on where you look. The national news is so much easier in your face on Facebook, on the news, CNN, Fox News, those things. But when you dig deep, I mean, the city of Springfield has a great website. Other bedroom communities have really excellent websites and media releases letting you know what's going on in the public. You just kind of got to know where to dig and where to look. And that's something I like about our dynamic, actually, is because you're kind of focused more on federal government. I'm more focused on local government. I brought a couple things today to talk about with you guys. So
you're really a wizard with that stuff.
Yeah,
but I just don't think it is connecting the way it should with people.
Agreed.
Because
it's not as exciting.
Literally yesterday, and this is before the semester begins, so sorry. This is not super timely.
So literally Thursday, August the 18th.
But an NBA player, retired NBA player, Anthony Tolliver, came to Springfield with a local business person and wanted to turn that old white house, catty corner from Mercy Hospital, into a strip shopping area with some lofts on top. And
I read about that.
They had to face down a firestorm of really angry residents in that area who already believed that their area of Springfield is being turned into a chicken strip. Whatever you call it, pathway, whatever. There's like 4 or 5 fried chicken places on the street. And the firestorm from that meeting would dominate CNN coverage if it happened. You know what I mean? I just don't feel like it. I don't feel like it gets the props it deserves. And I've been searching for answers as to why for a while.
Well, in a lot of ways, I agree with you. And that's kind of something I like to tackle is to make, you got to present it in a way that people care and people start trying to pay more attention to what's happening in their backyard. Because most people, they don't really care until it is in their backyard. So it's just kind of making sure that people are aware and that opportunity for engagement education is there.
I just feel every time I talk to students about such a story where it's a local story, it's not happening in Jeff City or in any other, it's not California, it's happening in neighborhoods that they recognize. Their ears always perk up. They're like, wait, that's happening around me? There have been so many interesting stories with like pit bull bands and
that was huge.
As Jared would tell you, urban chickens and all kinds of stuff. And students are super interested in that stuff. They're super interested, but they just don't know it's happening. And that, by the way, does not make them unique. In my opinion, the average adult has no clue what the local government's up to. Anyways, that's just my little...
when they leave OTC in my class, they will.
We need like a morning news station here, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Local news at OTC.
Sign me up. Someone hire me. Come on, let's go.
Absolutely, yeah.
That would be a lot of fun.
And now for a fun story on the street, wacky Cara Griffin. What's up?
Do you want to know what NIMBY means? It means not in my backyard. What's happened to you today?
Yeah.
We do it. We could play it on those, the TVs in the front there.
Yeah.
There you
Or they
go.
could even do it live and you can watch. Be a
You got
guest.
it.
People could hold signs outside the window.
You got it. You're on to
And
something.
it depends on your degree of nerd as well, because as you know, you watch school board meetings.
Yes, yeah.
I watch city council meetings.
Yeah.
You can get in. There's some interesting stuff that happens there. I mean, it's worth sharing. It's worth knowing.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Yeah.
And I think the theory that I've aired before, and let's get your perspective on this, because again, this is the soup you swim in.
Yeah.
National politics seems to be more about values and what we believe and what we're defending against, very conceptual. very purpose-driven, and that's very attractive. That's a lot of stuff you can glob onto. Local government is about taking those ideals and turning them into granular, like all the nitty-gritty details of how we're supposed to pull this stuff off. And people have very strong opinions about what they want, but they have no clue how to do it. And so maybe that's part of the disconnect.
Yes. Besides from funding, national news is very well funded. But I think even part of our Core 42, we're trying to add that civil discourse, that civic engagement piece. And I think as a college, strategically, we're going to be focusing a lot more on that in the future. And I think that's going to help people with an understanding other than, how do I go to the DMV and get tags? How do I pay my property taxes? Yeah. All things I'll gladly talk about. But I think that we can work as a college. And I think there's some things in place to make students more aware of those things.
I think talking about Core 42 is an important note there, right? And the role education plays in it. And when we talk about critical thinking, I know that people kind of stub their nose a little bit because they view it as a buzzword rather than what it really is this important piece that we need to be able to figure out where to get the resources we need to be able to talk about the news, right? Like you said, a lot of times people don't know things are going on or don't know where to look because they don't have those resources. They don't have that training. They don't know where to look, right? And I think that's part of what we start to learn from a broader liberal arts education is you get the resources and the critical thinking skills you need to not only find information but to value it, to organize it, to make sense of it, right?
And to make it sound curious. When students are curious, they want to know. And when you present local government ideas, things happening, elections, ballot initiatives, local case studies, people are like, "Oh wow, that's interesting. Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that." And then
that was good pull.
And I think a lot of passion can grow from there. I mean, even me, I chose my major because of my PLS 101 course. 100%. I had an amazing instructor at Missouri State, and I was like, you know what? I really care about this. This is awesome. Then boom, there I went.
Can we transition that into something you and I are intimately familiar with, and that's our student club, politically active.
Yes.
Can you take a couple minutes to talk about, first of all, what does the club do, but more importantly, what it's done, in your opinion, for you and your experience teaching, and most importantly, interacting with these incredible students we've had.
Man, it's emotional because we're in it and we love the students. We've done so much. So in 2018, we formed Politically Active, and it's arguably second probably to PTK and Honors College, but our student organization is so outstanding and active and busy.
And when you say second, you mean in size?
In size and in just being active.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, just being active. So Politically Active, our goal is to increase political literacy, which and really our two minds, we come together with ideas, and we have it's a student-led organization that Andrew and I sponsor, and really we kind of steer what the students want. We come up with great topics, timely topics. Last semester, our most attended meeting was 36 students. Yeah. We have COVID was hard, but we still were active. I mean, we were having 12, 16 people show up during COVID
on Zoom.
On Zoom. And we get,
which is hard. Speakers. Our meetings are usually very, very vibrant. You have hands shooting up constantly, wanting to speak on such and such topic. Yeah. And on Zoom, it's hard, right?
Yeah, it was. And students want that relationship. I mean, they are proven to be more successful when they think they have a champion at school, with friends, making that relationship, which is why our cabinet's grown to 12 students. Yeah. And we've been rewarded with an awesome
big cabinet.
It is a big cabinet.
What are the names of all the?
Okay, so sometimes it's just cabinet member, which means that they contribute ideas. They're required to volunteer and be at a certain amount of events. Yeah. But we have president, vice president, secretary. Technically, I'm the treasurer, but we also give that title to someone.
We gave it to a great kid named Austin who loves having that title. Ironically, he doesn't do anything with it, but he's like, it sounds great that I'm a treasurer.
Look, titles are free, and it makes them feel important.
Yeah.
And it kind of brings everybody together. Social media coordinator, a Remind coordinator, alumni coordinator.
Yeah.
We have a couple of students who have graduated and transferred to Missouri State, but just don't want to leave.
Yeah.
So we have them come back and kind of be champions for other students transferring.
And you, one of the probably when we talk about student clubs, when OTC talks about them, OTC talks about how rewarding they are for the students, how good they are for the college. I think they're missing that. Politically active stuff is probably the most fun I have.
Oh, absolutely.
Because I love doing the stuff we do. We, the students really have carte blanche to come up with any ideas they want. And so that gives us a lot of different stuff to do. In addition to that, typically the students that gravitate towards these clubs, they're just wonderful, funny, incredibly smart and engaged people. And
from both sides of political views.
Of political views, yeah.
That is what I'm so proud of, is that we have such a melting pot of views.
Yeah.
Yet we are still all working together, putting on these events and interacting together and forming relationships.
Yeah.
What was the last event you guys put on?
We had a summer social.
We did have a summer social.
We had a social over the summer.
For new members.
That's
We
really
met
just,
over the
that's really just
summer.
how above and beyond these students have gone, is that
Yeah.
they wanted to get together in the summer because they didn't want to wait all summer to see each other again.
Correct. But our last meeting was actually on 4/20, and it was about the legalization of marijuana.
Yes, on April 20th.
And
So what do one of these meetings look like? If no one's ever attended, and I would absolutely insist that you come to one of them. We see them advertised throughout
we have
the
a lot
semester.
of staff that attend actually, or who have attended. Absolutely.
What Kara and I always say is you are 1,000% welcome. And by the way, to chip in your 2 cents, we just ask that students drive the bus.
Yeah. Oh man, we had Dr. Lundstrom come and talked about Russia and Ukraine. He spoke on Afghanistan. We had so many staff and faculty join in for that, just to listen to him.
So the meeting topics are chosen by the cabinet, and with like very minor steering from Kara and I. Like if for some reason I don't think we've ever shot down a topic that they've all agreed to. But if one of them wanted to do like Nazism, is it for you? Like if they ever want to do something like that, then we would ostensibly shoot that down. But we of course put it out there. And then what would you describe the meeting as, Kara?
Sure.
How does it
we have
put me in the room?
styles. So we have different styles, but what we typically agree on is we either have a guest speaker with Q&A, or Andrew or I present for 10 minutes on something, and then we just have an open discussion, and we don't record it. Anybody is welcome. Students just engage in a real civil discourse type of way, just listening to others and expressing their own views.
Yeah. And so our most recent meeting,
we have a big circle. We have snacks. We serve pizza. And we just ask people to be engaged. And
do you explicitly state rules of discourse? Do you open the meeting with some kind of a...
Yeah, we've always got notes and stuff to talk about.
That's a great question. We have very rarely had to enforce civil discussion rules.
Sometimes people want to dominate a topic.
That's what we have to worry about more than anything.
But we just moderate that. We're like, hey, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing. Let's hear from someone else for a minute, and then just keep going.
We talked about where marijuana policy has been, where it is now. We talked about what does legalization mean? What does decriminalization mean?
Yeah.
And then at that point, my particular job of these discussions is I ask several discussion questions, and almost from the gun, there's a ton of jump in, because that's always we always want to pick a topic we think could be real hot.
And our other hot topic, I mean, we got to brag on what we've done. We had Lily Ledbetter, we've had Nez Walker, we've had the girl who does the Washington podcast.
Lillian Cunningham.
Cunningham. We've had Robert Satayacum, the Faithless Elector. We've had local, in Greene County.
Oh, local. I mean, we collaborate with the Greene County Clerk's Office. Those local folks beat down our doors.
Yeah, we do. Yeah. They know us.
Yeah.
It's
they
just
all hit
really,
us up for interns. They're like,
do.
could you please give us an intern for Billy Long's office, for Crystal Quaid's office, for, So.
And we're like, we're trying to find our own intern.
I know.
So yeah, it breathes a lot of life, I think, into student life on campus.
Yeah.
Our community partnerships, not only do we do that, but we host Springfield Votes, which the last couple of years we've had over 100 people, students and community members attend. We've gotten media coverage.
Springfield Votes is a annual event that we hold, that Politically Active holds, that introduces the community to the people who are running under local election for local office.
Yes.
I missed the last one, but I went to the one before that,
Yeah.
which was pre-COVID, actually.
Yeah, it was.
And oddly enough, I had to enforce civil engagement rules there with a member of the community, never with the students.
No,
if we ever, as we do sometimes,
Yeah.
open stuff up to the general
Yeah.
public, those are the guys we got to worry about.
General public is rowdy.
They are.
Well, let's not give security heartburn here. Everything went great at the event. There was
just people,
no cause
just
to
grouchiness.
feel,
Yeah.
it was completely fine.
Yeah.
We had cookies.
Yeah.
Everybody was happy.
Yeah.
That's great to hear, though, and you know, not only is it a part of the strategic initiative of the college, but we just anecdotally and from what you guys have experienced, engaging students in clubs is beneficial for everyone involved.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And on top of that, just Andrew and I personally, he's of course with Be Civil, Be Heard, but we are with the League of Women Voters Coalition. We are with the Good Life Group. And we adopted a street, politically active, adopted a piece of Pythian here. And
Just off campus, yeah.
Just off campus. And we go and we pick up trash and volunteer and things like that.
And congratulations on your new office space in NKM.
Yes, NKM 210.
We're neighbors now.
Yeah.
The headquarters.
Swing by. It is in its beta form.
It was probably
we'll get it
literally because everybody was tired of storing our stuff.
Yeah.
Let's just be honest. HR had our stuff, like different classrooms, our offices. Like we have voter registration drive stuff, poster stuff for the picnic, like Constitution Day. We have hundreds of mini constitutions that have to live somewhere.
So you are a rare member of campus because you've been on both sides of the faculty staff line. Faculty has benefits that Jared and I have spent 20 plus episodes now bragging about.
I know, I'm excited.
I will say that there is one of the reasons we started the podcast is because when you are an instructor, you tend to be a satellite and you're not necessarily interacting with a ton of people. But when you are in staff, you are in an office and you build a camaraderie.
Oh yeah.
So what is about staff is there anything about staff that you're missing other than the real obvious stuff?
Let's see. Not really that I miss seeing more people more often. Because when we're on our schedules, it's, man, we're going to classrooms.
Yeah.
Our coworkers become the students,
right.
To a certain degree. But from staff, I mean, I still see a lot of people. Of course, I've got good friends and staff that just pop down to my office now. So I still see everybody. Staff association was really fun. I do miss that. But I am now on Faculty Senate, about to start my first meeting here in a couple weeks. And I'm really excited to be part of that group. I am a social creature for sure. And I thrive on those committees and groups. And
weren't we talking? I think the three of us were talking about this before, where here on campus today, and I'm so sad I wasn't able to attend. They had a really clever event called speed friending.
Yes,
I mean that is such a clever. That is such a clever idea.
Yes, Jared, did you go?
I didn't. I hadn't eaten, and so I had to. I had to make a choice.
You weren't speedy enough.
I know. It was a 30-minute event, and I just didn't.
The three of us were talking, and we were like, because it is an optional thing to go to. You know who's going to show up is all the extroverted people who all know each other anyways. I loved that idea of the speed friending. Whoever came up with it, I hope you're listening. Such a fun idea.
Yes,
do more of that.
Will you have another one and invite me, Andrew and Jared, please? Speaking of Andrew and Jared, I want to know your origin story. How did you guys come up with this podcast?
For our friendship or for our podcast?
So one of your duties used to be to run the, what exactly is it called? The leadership?
Yep, OTC leadership.
Oh, it's just called OTC leadership. So Andrew and I were in the class of 2020.
Yes.
Which was a COVID year, right? And so we actually started on Zoom, did a lot of things on Zoom, but we got a couple of opportunities to go, especially when we traveled and went to the different campuses to kind of hang out. And we did an axe throwing event that Andrew, of course, likes to talk about
Have
winning.
I mentioned that in an episode or two?
Yes, yes, yes.
I beat 20 of my colleagues at axe throwing.
Oh, geez.
And so I'm definitely an extroverted person, but I do kind of have a range, you know?
Yeah.
And so I like to say I'm very extroverted, but I'm very fragile. So I tend to be a little more timid, like, you know, my feelings get hurt, right? So I'm not always the best at kind of seeking out relationships, you know, but I enjoy them. So leadership really showed me, you know, I just met so many people across the college, and I really appreciated it and valued it and wanted more of that connection, right?
Yeah.
And because I just noticed, you know, how much better I felt like it was making me in the classroom, and you know,
It was great. It was great interacting with them too.
Yeah.
it was a fun time. And
Yeah.
so my idea was, well, I don't want this to stop, right? And so having met all the people and the resources that I was able to, I had this idea of, well, let's keep this going and kind of come up with this excuse. And given that we were still kind of in that COVID time period, I mean, you know, we still kind of are, finding a way to meet as many people as possible, and so kind of using this as an excuse to do it, and giving me the permission to ask someone with it, without it just being like, hey, you want to hang out, you know what I mean?
Right.
And so Andrew, I noticed
He has woo in his personality.
Woo?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Woo. It's like one of your.
Oh, like a personality type?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so
What do you mean?
people always say this about me as well, but I always heard from Andrew. You know what I mean? But and people say that about me, so I'm not making any judgment calls. So I just figured,
Careful, I'm fragile too.
and he just knew so many people that I didn't know, and it was in a different part of the college. I just figured he wouldn't say no, and I think it's something that had come up at some point, and you've just got that radio voice.
Oh yeah.
And so I just called one day and said, hey, would you want to do a podcast? And of course,
That's if we do the live news show, then that we know my role. Here. With today's news, Jared, I will say that, and this is a thing that I think the two of you share, is you both have, by the way, those what do you call those game changer grants? You have both gotten game changer grants approved. You personally, Jared, have gotten 2 of them, and I just think it's because you both have your finger on the pulse of the college. You have a good feel for what the college is doing and what it can do more of.
actually, my first Game Changer grant, I lost to Cara. And
Oh, did you really?
Oh snap! I think mine was a mini one. I think
remember you and Blaine did the maps.
No.
We did get a mini one approved, though.
I wasn't with Blaine in the maps. Well, it was.
Weren't you presenting though?
It was the pedestrian pathway. It was a mini one for like a walking path.
I thought you presented with Blaine.
No.
Who was
Blaine.
that?
I don't know.
I swore that was you. I
Because
guess
I was
it's been
with
a couple-
HR then. And I did one for HR for longevity, like employee recognition.
Oh, okay. Well, then I never mind then.
But
You've been
thank you for
harboring
bringing
this resentment for so long.
it wasn't resentment because I still,
and we got to hear that resentment
You know
get
what?
popped
It was
to live.
Hope
It was respect.
presented with Blaine.
Got it.
Yep.
Oh, it was.
Yeah,
I don't
she's
know.
a graphic
Okay.
designer. She knows what's up.
That makes
But
sense.
I do feel that way about you guys, and there's several other people on this campus. The one that I always shoots to the top of my mind is Jennifer Dunkel. But there are so many people that I feel like have. There's I think a dozen of people on this campus who I feel just have a real good feel for what it can do. What are some extra ways that it can serve our community and the students better? And I put 2 of you in that class for sure.
We have something in common. What was that test we took at the leadership?
The Strengths Finder, Clifton.
We were the only ones
Is that what made me a woo?
That's
Yes,
what made
maybe
you.
But in those tests, people tend to get to one side or the other one place. But Cara and I were the only one that had something in
We
every
had one
category.
in every category. We fit in anywhere.
That's right.
Unicorns then?
Unicorns,
Yeah.
man.
So something that we like to ask to get to know our guests a little bit better is tell us about a hero, someone you look up to, someone that's influenced your life in a positive way that you would like to share with our listeners.
Okay, well, I got a long list, guys, so I'll keep it short. I have a lot of people I've looked up to. Here at OTC, Rob Rector, Oki Haas, I got to give them, a salute for being awesome.
Why? What is it about? Let's isolate those two.
But I have like a whole paragraph.
Oh, okay. Of people?
Of people.
This is an Oscar. You're just thanking. I would like to thank the producers that did it.
Thank you.
Do we have the music to
play her off?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'll keep it short and sweet. But yes, Rob is the most generous, hardworking person. He's truly just an amazing human, and I learned so much working under him, and I love him and his department. Still feel like I'm part of the family, even though I've changed departments.
And by the way, because you work in his office, we've had Higdon on this podcast. I'm sorry, Dr. Higdon, accept my apologies. And Dr. Higdon vouches for him as a hysterical human. Very funny person.
All of his impersonations, like still to this day, like have resonated with me. Like,
I have heard that in more than one room.
You need to have him on here. You just need to have him on here. He's got to do Barney Fife. He needs to do Donald Trump. Casey Kasem. Oh my gosh.
Casey.
Wow. It is so good. And talk to him about Christmas. We literally shared a doorway. And Rob would, when he's in the mode, he'd click off his shoes and we would listen to like every Christmas CD ever. Okay. Loved it.
Maybe what we'll do is we'll do like a production of a radio Christmas skit
100%.
with him doing all the different characters in his impersonation.
Sorry, Rob. Yes, do it.
We actually have a politically active student member who is a voice actress. She's an aspiring voice actress, so we have a bench. We have a deep bench from which we can pull. Yeah.
And Oki, who's just so sweet and caring, like the way she views perspectives and is just so non-biased and just truly like is emotional, like feeling for people. Like it's just incredible to work from her and see that type of leadership and compassion for people. And then obviously my parents, because they're awesome, because they have me. No, my parents have worked hard to come up in life, and I've learned a lot from them. My grandpa, he was a civil servant. He worked for local governments and got me my first internship with a local government. He was a person that just everybody loved. He also had a shopping problem and an entire bedroom dedicated to a closet, which I also blame him for. But he's someone I hold very near and dear to my heart. And then I grew up with horses. I grew up showing horses, and I had a handful of horse trainers that just really taught me like hard work ethic, like grit. When you're mucking stalls at 4 a.m. in New Mexico and it's 100 degrees, like
it takes some grit.
It takes a little bit. So I value those memories as well.
I do not know the first thing about horses, but I know a number of people such as yourself that love horses or around horses a lot. And the one thing they all tell me is how radically different all their personalities are. They describe horses as if they're
dogs.
Well, in a way, yeah, because I was going to say people, but actually that's the way I describe dogs. I talk about dogs all the time as they have deep wells of personality and compassion, intelligence and stuff. And that's our whole world to that with horses that I am completely blind to.
And you still have horses?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. How many?
I have my retired show mare. I've had her for 18 years.
And her name?
Her name is The Last Cookie because her mom's barn name was Oreo, and her sire, her dad, died right after she was born. She is the last cookie.
I will say The Last Cookie is such a horse racing name. I can hear a 1920s announcer
I
say,
don't race horses.
And here comes the last cookie. The last cookie passing Napoleon's bow tie. Here we go.
So we call her Cookie for short. And SRA True Phenomenon is my other horse. And basically, when I knew I wasn't having kids, I bought a baby horse. And he's just kind of like my project horse. He's a gelding. He's young. If you don't know what that means, it means he's neutered. He's not a stallion.
Okay.
And I call him Drake. That's his barn name.
I'm a little ashamed to admit that I didn't realize a pony doesn't grow up into a full horse until I was like 30. I thought that's what you called baby horses.
Yeah. Oh, that's sweet.
I wish I was there that day. Jared said to himself, "Oh, that's as big as they get? They don't get any bigger."
And what does SRA stand for?
So that's the actual barn name that bred him. So it stands for Saddle Ridge Arabians, because I have half Arabian, half Pinto horses. So they're like paints. They're spotted, black and white, brown and white. They're Tobiano and Overo. So they're really
Very
great.
cool.
Yeah.
So then this question is right in that vein, right? So Mr. Ed versus Gumby.
She brings specialty to this
Battle to the
conversation.
death.
I do. I'm just gonna fold my hands.
Who
very
wins and why?
Seriously,
Who
at
better
Andrew.
to know what exactly a horse is capable of?
Obviously, I'm in Mr. Ed's corner.
That's an
I
emotional
think
decision.
It is emotional, but doesn't make it wrong. Okay, it's just like choosing the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl no matter what. You're just gonna do it. And I think Mr. Ed. I think Gumby may be flexible. I think Mr. Ed could.
Did you
eat
just
Gumby.
say? Did you
'Cause
just
he's like
say
the color
Gumby
of-
may be flexible?
Yeah, like he's like. I think he reminds me of alfalfa, and I think a horse would just like eat him like a little snack.
Oh, I guess he would kind of look like alfalfa.
Yeah, just like a little alfalfa cookie.
Not maybe as in maybe not as possibility, but giving him that. Well, okay, maybe this is true. But
Okay, right. Okay, I didn't.
what
I was like,
She wasn't
maybe he
saying
was
that.
flexible. That's his entire persona.
Yes.
So I respect your opinion. You're just horrendously biased. We should discount it. So what I would say,
I'm right. Bring it on.
what I would say is recognizing that he bears what I will admit is a striking resemblance to alfalfa.
He does.
That's
Thank you.
not going to be enough. If
No,
you think that's
I
going to
think
give,
it is enough. I think you're in denial.
all right. I would just like her. I would like her testimony stricken from the record.
what would it take? So this comes up when you talk to flat earthers and other people that. not that I'm saying this
So you're
is the
treating
same.
me like I have a cult mentality. No, we're treating Andrew that way.
Yeah,
Yes,
he's trying
this
to
is for Andrew.
he's trying to detox me.
Is there any evidence? Is there any argument that would change your mind? And I'm not on either side. I'm not picking the side.
I'm on
think-
Jared's side right now.
I think Jackie came close. She's probably the closest when she noted that you could probably burn. She theorized that you could burn Gumby. But that's like asking somebody, if Hulk fought Black Widow, Hulk would win. And I feel like you're asking me, what would it take for Black Widow to get your vote? Well, she would have to be a completely different. It would have to be a completely different set of.
Only you would tie in Marvel at a time like this.
We just heard for the first time too, Andrew impersonate my voice. That's what, did you notice the body language too?
I did. Okay, so I have a would you rather for you guys.
Okay.
Oh, would you rather
I-
for us?
Yes,
See,
for
I
you
like this.
two,
This
by
is a-
hosts. Yeah, I want to know. And I've customized them based on your talents because I've seen Andrew at a dance, student dance
yeah.
in a dance-off.
Yeah.
And I've recently seen you perform in your band. So the would you rather, I'll do Andrew first. Andrew, would you rather have to replace Jared as lead singer in his band on a show for like KSMU radio? I mean, that's going to everybody in the state, okay?
Okay.
Or have 2 hissing cockroaches loose in your office with you for an entire day with the door locked?
Well,
Door locked.
You're you're asking me to choose between something I absolutely don't want to happen against something I would I don't think I would mind so much. I don't. By the way, are you just asking me to sing for him?
Like,
somebody
you have
else
to be
would.
in
I
his
assume you
band.
play a guitar as well. So somebody else will take guitar duties. But I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. I'm not going to be good at it, but I'm okay with it. I'll tell you what. I would choose just about option A every time if option B is.
Is there a
spend time
phobia here?
hissing. No, just it's not phobia. It's unpleasant to be around gigantic silver dollar
So
sized
wait a minute.
bugs that hiss at you.
So it's not even like a fear. It's just a mild inconvenience.
What on earth? Again, I apologize. I am a religious person, and when God was making cockroaches, and He was like, "What can we do to make them more repulsive?" You know what? We'll make them hiss. It is just a.
But your argument was basically, I will never be mildly inconvenienced.
Yeah. No, that's not a mild inconvenience. Dude, you wouldn't be terrified of having.
Well, you said you weren't afraid of them.
Do I need to make this snakes?
Is being afraid of something different than a phobia? I thought phobia was a rational fear.
Oh, fair enough. Okay.
Yeah, and I'm just exhibiting what I think is
trivia.
A very rational fear.
fear.
Okay.
Okay, so you're going to replace Jared.
I'll
okay.
replace him.
Okay.
Yeah. I would like to think that we have an unspoken agreement that I just think Jared implicitly knows that if he ever gets laryngitis for a day, I'll fill
You're
it.
taking over.
Yeah. I don't know any of the lyrics yet, but
Yeah, you better start learning. Your album's good, by the way.
If I pass, you're inhering.
I'll take it. Yeah, if you pass, all right. Oh my gosh.
Wow, it took a left turn.
On Spotify, by the way, the theorists.
There you
on
go.
Spotify.
Exactly.
Track them down.
Yep.
Good
Listen
stuff.
up. Okay, Jared, would you rather have to face Andrew in a dance-off in the atrium surrounded by students, or...
Which I had to do, yeah.
Oh, this is not your would you rather.
Sorry, I was supporting
or
you. Yeah.
repel yourself off of the roof of the PMC building.
Oh, can I repel myself off the roof of the building?
I mean, not technically. I'm not.
I thought this was an
I
offer.
haven't ran that through, security or insurance.
I
or
saw
anything,
both
but-
of these as like real possibilities.
Well, one, we know for a fact that what I did is a possibility. Although it happened, I had a couple students track me down and challenge me. So it's not like I was itching to get out there. I had a couple students straight up go to the DJ and say, play this song. I'm going to do a dance battle with Crockers.
I would repel off the building.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice.
That actually just sounds fun. The other one does not sound fun.
It's challenging because you have to. All my dancing was from my torso up because I can't be in front of a bunch of 19-year-olds doing any kind of lower body dancing. That's no.
And now I think I've discovered I don't like heights or cockroaches. So
If you
So
had
you're
to choose,
singing and dancing.
if you had to choose between hissing cockroaches in your office or rappelling down a building,
oh
Cara Griffin.
no. I would try to dance. I would try to sing. I'm not doing either of the other
right.
options. No way.
This just keeps coming up though, and I'm
What?
most worried now that there's just going to be a lot of peer pressure scenarios where people try to get me to dance, and that's what I don't want. Like if it just happens in the moment, I'm comfortable in front of people, but I don't like being told what to do. Or
I'm actually going to
like,
be seeing you perform here
okay.
later this month, but do you not dance when you perform?
I mean, there's some wiggling about, but I wouldn't. It's not the same.
Okay.
It's not the same.
It's not. Yeah. I mean, he's playing an instrument.
Yeah. He's
Jamming
more
out to
grooving.
a tune.
Yeah.
It's
more
yeah.
grooving than dancing.
It's my
Yeah.
choice too.
It's not like
you
a TikTok video or anything.
Right.
know? Yeah.
I mean, it could be, but not
could
like
be.
dance moves.
I think we need to
specifically.
start a TikTok account of just us asking people, either just us asking people Gumby versus Mr. Ed battle to the death, or of just you arguing with people who think Mr. Ed.
We've been on a string recently of Mr. Ed people, man. I'm getting
Good.
frustrated.
Good. They're seeing the light.
Getting
Good.
frustrated.
I hope they all choose Mr. Ed.
So, yeah, I'm glad we had some time to talk about this idea of not only where you're from, but what you guys have in common with politically active, because this gave me an idea of, with the semester starting off with these new initiatives, we're going to have Vicki McDonald on because we want to start getting people engaged with student groups. And now that we have more resources available, make sure to check out our next episode as well with Vicki McDonald so we can talk about more about how to get your own student group started and how to get engaged with people that already have them existing. But we brought you on today as your expertise in local politics to ask you a question about taxes. So
You did. And instead, I created a local government case study, and I just handed it to you.
Most Cara thing ever.
So really, I think what we've evolved into is we're going to talk a little bit about just better understanding local government.
Yes.
understanding sales taxes, local taxes, property taxes. Why do they vary from city to city? What's included in a sales tax? And just a little bit more about, as we talked about at the beginning, what role our local government plays, what happens, and kind of what influence and engagement opportunities do we have?
Yes. Great
And you've
question.
brought us homework.
I did, but in a really happy way.
Yeah.
Yes.
So in a roundabout way, we're going to answer some of those questions with this case study. But let me start by saying, I'm sure all of you know what sales tax is. When you buy a gallon of milk and some bread, there's an extra percentage on there if you go out to eat. In Springfield, it is 8.1%. Where does that money go? What does it do? Half of it goes to the state of Missouri. Okay, like when you hear shop local, that's why you hear that, because the local entity, Springfield, will capture all the sales tax here. They get about 2.2 or so percent that stays here locally. That's what the city operates of. They fund public works, planning and zoning, human resources, city administration, parks and recreation, all of those great things. And then as some of their percentages of that sales tax are passed by the public. Very similar to how OTC passed our tax initiative in 2018 for that additional property tax. So the people vote on that. I think there's a little bit going towards a police pension fund, which is actually up to be revoted on in 2025. And a portion of that goes to like stormwater drainage projects. I know one of the projects they have right now is to clear like the Jordan Valley Creek, have it see the light of day. So in this case study, I like to bring civic engagement into the classroom and have students start thinking about local government, the role of city council members, who their city council representative is. And in this case study, let's say the city of Springfield gets an extra $800,000. Okay, the sales tax is great. It's extra in the budget. And there's a couple citizens' requests that city council is looking at, okay? And there's 4 scenarios, and you get to prioritize that spending, and you're going to bring it to city council for their approval, okay? So option A, so the city has this extra fund of money. We're going to decide how it would best spend. So scenario A, your city public works department already has a plan of street repair and replacement in place. However, with this money, you could expedite focus and repairs to lower income areas in Springfield, speed up the creation of pedestrian pathways and maintenance of those areas to make that part of town more safely walkable and to service that population. That's option A. Option B, well, the west side of Springfield's growing quite a bit. Republic's blowing up. A lot of people are moving out that way. Andrew, you live out that way. You have several citizens on that side of town requesting a green space be turned into an art park. Implementing a small art park on the west side would meet the needs of that growing family. There's a large social media following, creating a little bit of pressure for this request. Option C, you have a waiting list of 63 disputes of discrimination from local citizens against owners and local businesses. These funds could be utilized to expand the Civil Rights Hearing Committee for the city and to hire a part-time paralegal or attorney to assist citizens with claims and disputes involving local businesses to alleviate tension. And option D, you can use these funds to add a much-needed upgrade to infrastructure and water lines to a heavily populated neighborhood in the very middle of Springfield. There's been 2 water leaks in the last year that have wasted thousands of gallons of water. This has increasing environmental concerns. What would you guys pick and why? What are you guys thinking of when you think of these scenarios?
I'll tell you the ones that I won't pick. And there is, so again, we are getting $800,000 and it's extra from sales tax, correct?
Yeah.
In this hypothetical.
Yes, and I realize this amount probably couldn't cover any of these options, but for the sake of this scenario.
The reason I ask is because this is, as far as we know, a one-time funding punch.
Yes.
There is no guarantee that extra will be there in the future. It's not a consistent funding stream.
Correct.
And that's actually something, to expose my own ignorance, I had a conversation with Matt Simpson about. Matt Simpson, a coworker here at OTC who is actually on city council.
Yes.
And I asked him about there was a question I saw him answer in a city council debate. What would you do if OTC, what would you do if Springfield, I meant to say, got X amount of millions of dollars? What would you do with it? And I asked him, why wouldn't you do universal pre-K for every preschool age student? And he was like, well, because that's something you'd need year in and year out. We're getting a one punch of funding here. And that's what C is. C is going to need year in and year out funding. And that's the 63 disputes of discrimination, important though that is. The last one, the option about infrastructure and water lines, I think you can get that from the Biden administration. Biden administration has made a lot of money available for climate and for infrastructure, trillions of dollars. So I think, or at least hundreds of billions. So I think maybe if it was a different presidency, my answer would be different, but C and D would be off for me. So then it comes down to me for street repair versus an art park. And the interesting thing about these taxes that you do a good job of illuminating is that we are talking about taxes, but we really talking about values, right? And I don't know if there's a great answer between the two of them. I mean, they're both great answers.
Nice.
A or B, Jared? What do you think?
Well,
or
maybe Jared wants C or D. Let's hear from
I agree with why you discounted C or D. I think it was smart too. Thinking about D is we could get those funds elsewhere. Between A or B, I'm going to pick A because bigger picture. There's a little bit of kind of unrest. There's been kind of a little too much of an us versus them mentality that I think might continue to be propagated if all this money was spent only on one part of town, right? And so if while I'm all for Art Park, if not only because Art Park is really fun to say.
It is.
You know, that's really the needs of a certain group of people. And, you know, again, if we that's something that might be funded in that area by money in that area. A, not only is it citywide, but I think it's important to focus on those lower income areas where we might not be paying the attention that we maybe should be. And that if we think about equity and maybe add a little bit to people that need it the most, that might end up not only, you know, doing the good work it does for the city, but kind of help too a little bit with alleviating some of those feelings.
This is not the hottest take on the planet, but I do think that there are services used primarily by lower income people that need a ton more funding. I'm not even talking complicated stuff, just sidewalks. There are entire slates. I drive up and down Battlefield Road all the time. There's entire sections of Battlefield with no sidewalks. And on top of that, I just think our bus system needs more stops. I was without a car for a month back when I was an adjunct. And I was like, that's fine, I'll just take the bus. And I had to figure out that it was completely impossible. I had to walk. If I was going to do it, I had to walk like 10 blocks even to get to a bus where I would have to go. It's completely ridiculous. So I do tend to feel A as well. So I guess I'll agree with you.
You
But
guys
again,
had great answers.
but again,
You guys had great answers.
Yeah.
All good? There we go. So last semester, I take a couple weeks, and in my current affairs, I bring in these case studies, and I have students break down how the local sales tax works and the Department of Revenue and what kind of roles they play. And we look at sales tax in the area. The City of Republic actually has the highest sales tax in the area at like 9.1. But the students, after they read these, and you're absolutely right, about 50-50, they choose A. Because a lot of them are actually affected by potholes. They do not like potholes, and they like parking. Sorry, Rob Rector.
Well, in long term too. I mean, you're tearing up your vehicles. That's more costs.
Yes.
And if you're already having issues with home and food security, you know, that's just adding to that.
Yeah.
Pain in your wallet.
And I would say it's about 50-50. They didn't take the Biden infrastructure bill into consideration, but the other 50% chose D because of that wasted water, that environmental, hey, we have to fix this. And on that note, we talk about, the art park is it's kind of the sexy answer, right? It's what people want to see. It's visual. It makes everybody look good and sound good. But what actually needs to happen is one of those A or D's. And it's harder to create a buzzworthy news media, piece about that.
What's
which
the
often
art park
happens.
version of potholes? So it just doesn't roll. Art park, pothole.
I know. You're right.
Wasn't there? There's probably research about the impact a park has on a community. Almost certainly, Cara would know. But my lone experience is building a Sim City, and in Sim City, when you build parks, crime goes down.
Yeah.
I don't know if that translates to real world, but if you played Sim City.
Just like on campus, right? In our master plan, students wanted more green space.
Yeah.
So that's something we're working on giving. And citizens are the same way. They want parks somewhere they can take the dogs and the family and the kids and get out of the city and feel closer to nature. I think that's just kind of a human experience that residents want.
And just conservation of existing green spaces is really important.
It is.
And should be taken into consideration. And that's different than spending money necessarily, right? All right.
Yeah. So, thanks for playing my little case study game.
Interesting. I want to name something Art Park now.
It's your next band.
Art Park.
Fantastic. So, what's the difference between... Well, okay, so we talked about sales tax. We talked about where the sales tax goes, but there's also property taxes and income tax, and parse out a little bit what those taxes are, how they affect us and our community.
Sure. So I'm gonna start with property tax on that one, because property taxes are what's kind of levied in your county. Okay. Also, it could be taxing districts, but typically a property tax is what you pay off your home when you own a home. You can also get your vehicle assessed, and you pay a certain small percentage of the value of your vehicle, your home, things like that. And those funds basically go to a county level, where also to an organization such as OTC or the school district, which have levied taxes as well. But the county, when they get their portion, it's basically like a much larger city. County is going to encompass a lot of your road clearing, snow removal, certainly the sheriff's department, but also when you think about like forensic exams, right? You have a medical lab, you have the coroner, like you have a lot of behind the scenes things at Greene County being funded that way. The libraries, different sections of Greene County that just really focus on providing services to citizens. And essentially that's what our taxes do. Of course, our income tax, we all probably are like, what's a W-2? What's a W-4? Where's my retirement going? Because certainly when you see your paycheck, you see that federal being taken out, Medicaid, FICA, Medi, your state. So all of those go to a government entity in some way to come back to us in the form of a service, a program, something. And I don't want to be like, oh, I'm so pro-tax, but in a way, I really am. You
personally,
have to
though, and
support
honestly,
locally.
if you've ever, they send you a list of what your state taxes go to,
Yes,
and if you look at that
exactly.
list, it's a good list.
It is a good list.
And when you look at it,
is a
it's
good
okay,
list.
that makes sense.
I know, and so and a lot of the students are, especially around tax season, will be like, Miss Griffin, why is all my money being disappeared? 30 cents of every one of my dollars is gone, and you just have to break it down and explain the purpose of where that's going and why. And in the end, we all like where it's going. We all like those services. So I think certainly spreading that engagement piece and the knowledge of where to go and where to find that information certainly kind of squelches people's naysaying on being overly taxed. Because once their transparency is involved, it's not so bad.
So before we go, I wanted to bring something up. I wanted to remind everybody. So on Facebook, of course, if you're on the faculty Facebook page, we post our episodes on there, and that's one way you can communicate with us. I also want to remind everybody, we learned during professional development days, there exists now on Microsoft Teams teacher talk, right? And everybody can join, and it's kind of a way to communicate with each other. And what you get are a list of different channels, things like an unmeeting, where I've created a doodle board that you can draw pictures with each other. And it was an idea by
That's cool.
Robin Gordon. She said, I want a place that
she
has
did.
nothing to do with work, and no one can ever talk about work on it. So if you go to Unmeeting, there's a place to do that. There's also a channel called the Oh That's Cool podcast channel, and that's where you can talk to us. You can tell us how we're doing. You can tell us what you want to hear. You can tell us you want to be on the show. And you can also participate in our challenges. So throughout our different episodes, we've challenged you to go out and do things to get you to engage with your fellow employees, staff, faculty, and administration. We've got a challenge for you this week with school starting off. I want to give credit to Dick Wells on this idea. He was on our D&D episode. He also has a bit of a personality, and so something he started doing was he has some kind of award or certificate that's framed in his office. He started hiding it in other people's offices to see how long it would take them to notice. And so this has continued on. It turned into somewhat of a prank war between us, which is a dish best served cold. So I want to remind him that he's probably gotten a little bit comfortable. Besides that, though, most recently, Sheila Taylor retired and left a bouquet of fake silk flowers, like just a giant one, which came into my possession. And I then hid... actually, in plain sight, I just set it on a table in the front office at Norman K. Myers, and it was there for a while until Kevin Dees found it, and then it started being hid in different people's offices. Point being, this is your challenge. Either grab something at a gas station, find something in your office, go to someone's office that you don't know or wanted to meet, or maybe you do know, we won't make it too challenging. Have a conversation with them and hide that thing in their office. And see how long it takes them to find it and notice it.
I will tell you, somebody who is a genius at this game is my former office mate, Greg French. He has a small army of bobbleheads. And his Rain Man-like brain, if you just turn one 45 degrees, he'll detect it and correct it. It's incredible. It is like watching Rain Man. It is watching Dustin Hoffman.
So... get out there, try this out. Of course, after the fact, once they find us, tell us what you did. Tell us what happened, or tell us any ideas that you have, and let's have some fun this week. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much, Cara, for coming in.
Thank you, guys. You guys are awesome.
We appreciate it. We learned so much about you, about local government, about politically active, about being involved in the college, being on both sides of the fence. And Andrew, I didn't know that.
Sir, I didn't know it either.
And now you know.
Thank you so much.
You.
Thanks.